am Courtney at womenlivingwell.org, home of Good Morning Girls, and we are reading through the Bible chapter by chapter. And this week we finished the book of Genesis. So we are up to Genesis chapter 50, the last chapter, and there is such a powerful verse right here at verse 20 when Joseph is speaking to his brothers and he says to them, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." That word intended in Hebrew comes from a root word of weaving. You wove evil against me, but God, the master weaver, he wove together my story for his good. What is it in your life that you can look at, maybe from your childhood or from your teenage years or from those early 20s, or if you're older than that, your 30s, can you look back and see that there was a time where someone out there, they meant to hurt you, maybe someone even close to you? These were Joseph's brothers. They intended to harm you. But can you see now with perspective how God has woven his will and he has brought use that hard thing maybe as a good thing in your life. Maybe it's toughened you up for whatever you do in the workplace or as a mom, or maybe it's given you a ministry. Maybe a ministry has been born out of the hurt that someone else has caused you. I'm reminded of Elizabeth Elliot. She was a missionary to the Auca Indians, and the Auca Indians murdered her husband while they were there. And you would think that if they murder her husband that she would run home with her tail between her legs like, oh my goodness, these are scary tribal people. But she stayed there, and she led those people to the Lord. She loved them. And so she, when she came home to America, wrote the story of what happened, titled Through Gates of Splendor. And then she started a radio program that ran for over a decade. She wrote many books. And so born out of her pain and her suffering and sorrow from the mission field was this beautiful ministry that ministered to me personally. The name of this radio program is Gateway to Joy. And she says everything, if given to God, can be a gateway to joy. What is it in your life where you feel imprisoned, where you feel fenced in, where you feel pain? How can you give it over to God and open that gate and allow joy to fill that place? What is it that you can do as a result? God sometimes bursts a ministry, a comforting ministry, where we can come along someone else who's been through the pain you've been through, a younger sister in Christ, and you can minister to them by saying, you know, I've been there, and God was there with me and comforted me, and you can comfort them with the words of what you went through during that suffering, and the verses that God came to mind, and reassuring them that God is with you, and look, 10 years later, I'm okay, I'm still alive, you can come through this too. I pray that you will find that the things that people have done to you, if you're in a moment where it's fresh, you have a fresh wound, you cannot see what God's going to do with it, you do not feel that this is a gateway to joy, I pray that you will just have faith and understanding from other people's stories like Elizabeth's or like Joseph's, that we could have a perspective knowing 10 years from now, I might be giving thanks to God for this thing that came into my life, because maybe it is directing your path long term that God's going to use for good, for his glory and a blessing to you as well, despite that hardship. So I pray that you would give over, if everything, if given to God, can become a gateway to joy. Give that pain and that heartache to him. He loves you so. And walk with the King.